20,000 computers, all hijacked, all waiting for instructions, and all under our control. Welcome to Click, I'm Spencer Kelly, and welcome to a very special programme. This week we're going to show you exactly what happens when cybercriminals take over your computer and how much damage they can cause. First, a recap. Now recently we were in Russia to see just how sophisticated cybercrime has become. We met up with a hacker and the head of a security company who both explained how hackers can infect thousands of computers, steal banking details and credit card numbers from their users, and then sell them on to larger criminal organisations. We're talking about a highly evolved industry using highly advanced tools. But enough talking. This week we're going to give you a practical demonstration. We've put our knowledge to use and bought access to over 20,000 infected computers around the world. For the first time on television, we'll see exactly how millions of spam messages are sent to unsuspecting computers, and we'll use sheer brute force to take down a website. If you own a computer that's connected to the internet, you have to take some precautions. There are things you shouldn't click on and websites you shouldn't go to lest your machine gets infected by a virus, a Trojan horse, or other malicious software. And the problem with today's infections is that there are almost no symptoms. There is no pink flash. Everything will appear as normal. These days, an infected computer won't stand out from the crowd. It won't draw attention to itself. It'll just sit there quietly, awaiting instructions from somewhere else in the world. A remote control bot waiting to do someone else's bidding right under your nose. Even while the owner is using it, a bot can be downloading new instructions from its secret master. Instructions to do, well, just about anything. From sending out spam to thousands of other computers, to logging your keystrokes or directing you to fake bank websites, both of which will deliver your secret passwords directly to the cyber criminals. One bot, then, can do some damage, either to its owner's finances or to thousands of other computers, also online. But here's the thing. Modern cybercriminals don't just control individual bots. These guys will have infected many, many computers around the world, meaning that the hackers can command a network of hundreds, thousands, even hundreds of thousands of bots. This is a botnet. The power of botnets can be immense, sending out millions of spam messages every day.
These days, virtually all spam now emanates from botnets. And I think one of the sort of interesting things from a sort of timeline perspective is that these things really succeeding coincides also with broadband becoming very, very pervasive throughout the Western world. And fast fixed links to the home machines are basically how botnets works, are a sort of crucial ingredient to make all of this thing work. And a final sort of factor that drove this is legislation at the same point is starting to be enacted around the world to make spamming bad. So rather than deter the bad guys, they're essentially driven further underground. And botnets are a way of not just amplifying how much they can send, they're also gaining a degree of anonymity.
And this week we're going to show you just how powerful a botnet can be, because we now control one. Right now, over 20,000 compromised personal computers are under our control, awaiting our instructions. These machines are some of the tens of millions routinely infected by hackers every year, so that they always have botnets ready to rent or sell to the next paying customer. And this time, that customer was us. Acquiring control of the botnet was not as easy as some in the security industry had led us to believe. The process began in forums and chat rooms like these, where hackers advertise their services. The negotiations take place in instant messaging applications using false identities and in a weird mixture of English and Russian. The payments are made by wiring cash from a high street shop to an intermediate company that keeps the customer and the hacker anonymous from each other. All in all, the 21,000-strong botnet cost us just a few $1,000s, sold to us by a man whose name we don't know. Buying a botnet with criminal intent is against the law, so don't try this at home. We have a plan to make sure we do some real good with our purchase. After all, we're not going to steal any information from these bots. Instead, we're going to send some information. More on that later. First, let's take a look at what we got for our money. Here's the botnet control panel, and it's got an extremely sophisticated user interface. I mean, it looks pretty much like an operating system. If we wanted, it could speak 13 different languages, and performing malicious tasks is just as easy as clicking an icon or two. So here are all the different options that we can choose from. If I click here, I can bring up a list of all the bots that we control and which country they're in around the world. So you can see Colombia, Peru, Thailand, Vietnam, Spain, Romania, Hungary. If I click to the last page of the bots, page 217, you can see that we've got a total of 21,696. You can really see how easy they've made it to control this thing. I mean, you do not have to be a tech expert to command this beast.
Unfortunately today, the people that write botnets are very skilled professionals. We've seen this move from what used to be a hobbyist bit of fun into something now that is very professional. They go through professional version control, bug testing, feature development. So this is very skilled code that is unfortunately being used for a deviant purpose.
Joining us today is Jacques Erasmus, who's the Director of Research at Prevex Security. Jacques, welcome to Click.
Hi there.
Okay, we've got 21,000 bots or so under our control, but the whole setup cost us only a few $1,000s. And in fact, the people who sold us the bots are selling them out at 1,000 bots for $30. Why were they so cheap?
These bots that you have here are very cheap because they're from the developing world, and they don't have that much financial data that are of value to anybody that gets these bots. Whereas bots from, for instance, the US and the UK go for about $350 to $400 for 1,000 because they've got much more financial details, online banking passwords, credit card information. They're of much more value.
So the money that the cyber criminals can make from those bots is obviously a lot more.
Yeah.
Today, we're going to give you two demonstrations of the power of a botnet. First up, spam. You want to know where all those nuisance emails come from? They come from botnets. Now, take a look at this. On this screen, we've got two brand new webmail accounts which we've set up. There's one Gmail and one Hotmail, and you can see that they're both completely empty at the moment. We're going to order our botnet to do just one thing. Every bot that's online at the moment is going to email those accounts 500 times, and we should see the number of emails arriving rack up quite quickly. Now, all we have to do is click go on the botnet for that, Jack. First of all, let's just explain how easy it is to set this task up. I mean, you have complete control over what goes into the email.
Exactly, it's very easy. We've got complete control over the message, so we can specify whatever we want in the message. We can specify a list of email addresses that we want to send mail to. You can buy these lists for you can buy like 20 million for $1,000, even less than that.
And these are genuine, proven email addresses that won't bounce back.
Yes, they are.
That's why they're for sale.
Yeah.
Okay. Our address list, of course, only consists of two email addresses, the Gmail and the Hotmail.
And also the system is able to generate subjects for the email. You can specify a list of keywords, and it will go out to Google and search for those keywords. And all the results it gets, it will compile a list of subjects.
And the idea is every single email that hits an inbox has a different subject line.
That's
so
correct,
that would
yes.
hopefully confuse the spam filters, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's time to start these spams on their way. All I have to do is click go. It's as simple as that. Within just a few minutes, the emails began to arrive, each one with a different subject pulled down from Google, but each one with the same message inside. Our botnet was configured to send the spam out reasonably slowly in order to reduce the load on each individual bot's internet connections. But after leaving the spam test running for a few hours, the inboxes were bulging. A more determined spammer could easily have sent out 100 times this number over the same period. Now you can begin to see why there's so much spam around. We'll return to our botnet experiment in a few minutes. First, the latest tech news, and it probably won't come as a surprise to many of you, but social networking sites are now more popular than personal email. According to a new report, 2 out of 3 of all internet users are now going online to visit sites like Facebook and MySpace, taking up about a tenth of the time spent online. The BBC expects to offer high-definition content over the iPlayer within a month to UK users. Details are still being worked out, but it's thought that the offering would initially be available to computer users and then later via other platforms like Virgin Media. It's not clear whether users will be able to stream the content or whether they'll need to download it first. Internet service providers have warned that some users will have to be careful not to exceed their download limits, as the files are likely to be significantly bigger. And the movie awards season is finally over, and that means it's time for the British Academy of Film and Television Arts to hand out gongs to the best video games of 2008. 15 BAFTAs were up for grabs, with first-person shooter, deep breath now, Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare annihilating the opposition, collecting 3 awards, including the People's Choice. The biggest surprise of the night came as Super Mario Galaxy picked up the Game of the Year title, leaving the British-developed Grand Theft Auto 4 out in the cold. Despite 7 nominations, the sandbox crime caper failed to pick up a single BAFTA. More gaming goings-on next week with a roundup of the latest top titles. Over 10,000 spam messages. That's what our botnet managed to send out in just a few hours. A small example of the mechanism that's able to send out so many messages across the net every day. Well, that may look impressive, but spam filters are improving. And what's interesting is a good number of the emails we're receiving over there are being automatically identified as spam and being sent straight to the junk folder. But sending out a few thousand dodgy emails is nothing compared to what we're going to order our botnet to do next. We've shown you how a network of bots can be used to churn out thousands and thousands of spam messages. But what we're going to do next mirrors a much more direct, malicious attack. We're going to take down an entire website. Although nearly every business on the planet would love more customers, sometimes it can get a bit too much. Whether it's the January sales, commuter rush hour...
Sorry, there's currently a high demand for this number.
Or even just a busy telephone helpline. If you have a sudden surge of visitors that you're not ready for, your system won't be able to cope. These surges don't always happen by accident. If you can command enough people, you can close down places designed to handle enormous numbers of visitors, as anyone trying to fly out of Bangkok during this 2008 protest will remember. For websites, it's no different. Busier sites can handle more traffic, but even these can slow down or even stop when there's a sudden flood of visitors. A botnet can create an enormous flood of traffic to one site. Thousands of computers, all repeatedly trying to access the site several times every second, possibly for hours or even days on end. The website will be overrun with traffic, and most ordinary users' requests will never get through. The site becomes unavailable. It's an attack known as a distributed denial of service, DDoS. Jack, if someone's got a grudge against a particular company, then I can understand why they DDoS their website, but there's also money to be made in DDoS, isn't there?
There's massive money to be made. The possibilities for extortion is huge, and what cyber criminals are doing here, they're getting into contact with websites and threatening them with DDoS attacks. And the loss of trade for that website is very substantial. So a lot of these websites just pay up to avoid this DDoS attack.
And you were saying that gambling websites are particular targets?
Gambling websites and all kinds of high-traffic websites that generate a lot of revenue and rely on the website to be online are a massive target for this kind of attack.
OK, well, Jack's security company have kindly allowed us to perform a DDoS on their backup website. You can see the site at the moment on this screen over here. It's running fine at the moment. It won't be in a few minutes' time. OK, Jack, let's get the DDoS running. Again, it's very easy to set the task up. We could even select the times and dates for the attack to start and stop. As the number of bots which have received the DDoS instruction began to climb, we were interested to see how many of our bots we'd actually need to make the site too slow to use. All in all, we performed the DDoS test 3 times, each time recording the traffic that the site received. You can see here how quickly the spike rises as more and more bots join the attack. Within a few minutes, the site takes several minutes to respond, and when it does, its graphics won't load completely. Amazingly, it took only 60 machines to overload the site's bandwidth. That's 60 computers on decent speed broadband connections capable of effectively taking a medium-sized business offline. What would happen when thousands of bots got involved? We decided not to find out. Right, the DDoS attack is now over and the bots are gradually ramping down their requests to the site. So hopefully in the next half hour or so the site should go back to normal. Now, Jacques, this all sounds pretty scary, but surely companies must be able to defend against DDoSes.
There's various ways that companies can do this. The one very effective method is to black hole the traffic. And what this does is it analyzes all the bad traffic that comes to your site and passes it off to a different internet connection, so it doesn't hit your site.
So as long as they can analyse, as long as there's something about the DDoS attack that looks different from normal traffic, they can siphon all that off.
Exactly.
OK, Jack, thank you very much. So, how do you stop this happening to you? How do you prevent yourself from becoming a victim like the 21,000 or so behind me? Well, here's our essential guide to computer security.
3 simple steps can help you keep your machine secure. Many of our bots were originally infected by simply visiting a website that had already been hacked by bad guys. It's called a drive-by download, and it works by loading malware onto your machine by exploiting bugs in your operating system and web browser. Windows is the most popular OS, and it's the most vulnerable to these kinds of attacks. You can minimize the chance of this happening by simply allowing your OS to automatically update itself. That fixes those bugs before they can be exploited. You also need to make sure this function is switched on. If OS updates are switched off, a computer won't benefit from these security patches. If you do get infected, your next line of protection is your firewall, so switch it on. A firewall acts as a kind of digital drawbridge, guarding against the web's more unpleasant elements. It monitors inbound and outbound net traffic on a computer, searching and blocking behaviour that looks malicious. Windows XP, Vista and Mac OS X all have built-in firewalls, but the Mac and earlier versions of XP don't switch them on by default. You have to switch it on manually. In addition, there are many tried and tested third-party firewalls available, some commercial, some free and lesser known, but still perfectly adequate. Windows users, if you decide to plump for a third-party firewall, you may need to switch the Microsoft firewall off. Often, the MS firewall will conflict with third-party packages. Both should be used in conjunction with good antivirus and anti-spyware software, again available in both paid-for and free variants. Many of the free options have fewer and more basic features than the full-price alternatives. Another common way for hackers to infect computers is by disguising malware as something else. A popular target are users looking for free pirated versions of software. They may think they're getting something for nothing, and they are, just not what they expected. If your PC has already been infected, anti-malware software can track down and eliminate the infection with extreme prejudice. A word of warning though, ensure only one antivirus application is installed at a time. Like the firewall, running multiple antivirus suites can cause software conflicts and create major computer performance issues. And finally, a sobering thought, it can take several days before antivirus companies catch up with outbreaks of a new infection, by which time it may have already wreaked havoc on your system. With PC security, prevention is most definitely better than cure.
Throughout the programme today, we've been demonstrating how it's possible to remote control thousands of infected computers and order them to send out spam and attack websites. And I mentioned earlier that we're going to make sure some good comes out of this experiment. So we're going to do two things. Firstly, we're going to let the owners of the computers know what's happened and how to stop getting infected again. The next time they use their computers, they'll discover that their desktop background has been changed to this warning screen. Secondly, we're going to order the botnet to self-destruct. Each bot will be told to remove the software that controls it, severing ties with our control panel. We can never talk to these machines again. So, that's it for this Click special. Hope you found it interesting. And you can find loads more information about the programme, the botnet experiment, and tips on how to keep your computer safe at our website, bbcworldnews.com/click. And you can also watch the video stream of this programme again there too. Thanks for watching. See you next time.